Hello, here we are on John's amazing radio station, and my name is Wilson, and today I'll be talking to you about the multitude of problems facing Nepal Sherpa. To start off, here are some common misconceptions that you might have and many people do. That Sherpas are simply the porters that supply most Himalayan mountaineering expeditions with their food, and that they simply set the ropes for these expeditions. Granted, most of those porters are in fact ethnic Sherpas, but there is a difference. Sherpa, with a capital S, is an ethnic group in the northeastern part of Nepal whose name literally translates to Eastern people. And Sherpa, old capital, is a term used to name the many different ethnic and racial groups who serve as porters and guides on Everest during the climbing season. If you don't already know what a Sherpa does on Mount Everest, then here's a quick background on the main source of money for these otherwise rather poor yak herders. For the 2 month climbing season on Everest, over 1,000 people gather on the side of the Khumbu Glacier to support or even participate in the yearly push up to the world's highest point. At 29,000 feet, Everest is not your typical afternoon hike, and even though it used to be the pinnacle of mountaineering, it has fallen to a point where a small, I say that lightly, sum of $60,000 per Western hillbilly who wants to prove that they are richer and tougher than their neighbors can get you to the top. A famous example of this is the author Sandy Pittman, who is characterized in Into Thin Air by John Krakauer as being hauled on a short rope up the mountain's most dangerous slope, the Lahost Face, by a Sherpa. Now, this may be an extreme case, but is more common than you might think, as one of those many examples where guides use Sherpas as beasts of burden and not as real people. So while you sit and listen to this, you're probably on your couch or in your car headed to work. You can breathe normally and without trouble. Sherpas don't have that luxury, because they live in some of the most extreme conditions on the whole planet. The average Sherpa village is between 10,000 and 14,000 feet above sea level. Most people have trouble breathing at altitude over 5,000 feet above sea level. At this altitude, the food tends to be a little less desirable than the cuisine we enjoy at the lower altitudes. The main diet of the Sherpas is starchy food with little meat. Meat is available, however, the Buddhist traditions prevent the killing of animals or any type of slaughter. To make their lives slightly warmer, they keep their livestock, they do keep yaks and goats even though they don't kill them, on the lower floor of their houses, and they live on the upper levels. This system allows for the heat from the animals to rise up into their living quarters and keep them slightly warmer than the high altitudes would normally permit. So the most common image we Westerners have of a Sherpa is one that's carrying a huge backpack walking a misty mountain track. This is a slight misconception. Only about 4,000 to 45,000 ethnic Sherpas guide on Everest. And you may be asking why. Why do they guide? Why would any group of humans, even just 4,000 of them, become essentially a slave for an ungrateful Western boss? They do this because they want to educate their children in Kathmandu, or a larger city in India. Most of the older Sherpas can't read or write, so they send their kids to boarding school to learn how to live a better life than they themselves led. Also, the Sherpas work on Everest to make more money. In a country where the average GDP is a little over $500 a year, they can make up to $5,000 for the 2 month climbing season. This is an insanely large amount to any Nepalese person, especially a Sherpa. But the guiding companies charge over $60,000 to climb the mountain. Where does all that money go? Right into the pockets of the rich Westerners. Now, there has to be a catch to this amazing deal, right? Yes, the death rate on Everest is 1 in 4 in the climbs, and the Sherpa job is even worse, with a death rate of 4,053 out of 100,000 people. That was over 12 times as dangerous as a soldier in the height of the Iraq War. 12 times. That's the difference between 12 pancakes eaten and 144 pancakes eaten. Now, in addition to these jolly numbers and statistics, the relationship between you as a Sherpa and your employer is pretty much as good as between you and your dead yak. This is a very offensive statement, I understand. However, it's very true. The climbing community was in outrage after 16 Sherpas died setting ropes, and the whole Sherpa community decided to close the mountain. 1 year later, an avalanche killed 19 climbers, and no one complained when they shut down the mountain. The Western climbers don't care when Sherpas die, because they're not paying customers, and so no one really cares. The main problem with this guide-client relationship is that the clients can be racist, or they simply don't care enough to help out the Sherpas. A culmination of this was on April 27, 2014, when 3 Russian pro-climbers got in a fight with a group of about 50 Sherpas because the Russians got above 3 Sherpas as they were laying rope after they had explicitly been told not to do so because it was very dangerous. This fight stems from the growing discontent that many Sherpas feel towards guides because they have been kept in the dark for over 60 years. What this means is that as Sherpas make more money, they become more educated, and this leads them to want better pay and better working conditions. which is in stark contrast to the wishes of their employers, who want the Sherpa population to stay ignorant and uneducated because they know that the Sherpas deserve more money and possibly better death compensations for their families. So, to sum it all up, the Sherpa people are oppressed and treated as beasts of burden by their employers, and yet even as they grow more educated and fight for better rights, they enter into the vicious cycle of better pay and less need to work in the long run. It is this cycle that will eventually boil over and lead to a massive conflict between the racist guides and the hardworking Sherpa people. Thank you, and we'll see you next time on John's Amazing Radio Station, channel 35.7.